Hey guys, so want to talk a little bit about the ketogenic diet. So when we're eating food, there's three main macronutrients. Okay, there's protein, there's fat, and then there's carbohydrates. Carbohydrates is just fuel. Carbohydrates is glucose. We could call it simple carbs. There's some things that are like juice, sugar. Okay, those are simple carbs. So the single glucose molecules after you ingest that, they go into the bloodstream, and then they have an insulin response. Insulin signals your cells to open up and to receive the fuel, the glucose, right, into the cell. Protein also has a response to insulin, but it's a lot less. Before I go to the other macronutrients, there's simple carbs, and then there's complex carbs. Complex is just that instead of having a single glucose molecule, it's a complex chain of varying lengths of glucose. So once those enter, they start releasing the glucose. So there is an insulin response. It's usually a slower insulin response. It's more gradual, but you also have to realize how many grams that you're eating. Okay, because if you're still eating complex carb, okay, you'll have maybe a less of an insulin response compared to table sugar or something like that. But your body still has to figure out the quantity of carbohydrates, of glucose. It has to figure out what to do with it. So obviously there's a certain aspect, the minute you ingest carbs, your body will use that for cellular energy. If you've consumed more carbohydrates than your cells need, there is spots for the carbohydrates to go, the glucose. Your liver can store glucose, as well as your muscle. And when it stores glucose in these reservoirs, bigger your muscle, the more sugar that you can hide in there. And when it's in that storage capacity, it's called glycogen, and glycogen is glucose plus water. Okay, so when you replenish your glycogen with glucose, there is water that is absorbed with that glucose into your glycogen reservoir, and they hold water. So there is a good shift in how much water you're retaining. If you go through all that sugar in your muscles, the water will be eliminated. So you can have fluctuations in water retention, and that can vary your weight. Especially, like I'm about a 5 pound guy, kind of guy. Eat a carb meal, put on 5 pounds if I'm doing low carb. Same thing. If I completely eliminate the carbohydrates or stay within 20 grams max, I will gradually go through the glycogens, and then after I'll start running on fat. So glucose, strictly fuel. You are not eating glucose and building things. You're not building your bones. You're not using, building blocks for cells, for muscle, for tissue, for organs. None of that. It is octane. It is pure energy. That's it. So you have to understand that anytime you're consuming this fuel, more than energy requirement or the storage capacity of that sugar, it will spill into fat. All right. Protein, it's a building block. It's broken down into amino acids, and there are some essential amino acids that you have to get through your diet. Your body can't synthesize these amino acids. Then after you have fat, right? Fat is a fuel, right? We always know we get fat, right? It's to be there when we don't have food, right? It's a reservoir. But it also builds things, okay? Like 60%, I believe, of your brain is fat and cholesterol. All of your nervous system is lined with myelin sheath. That's fat and cholesterol. Every cell membrane it is fat. There's cholesterol, hormones, fat, cholesterol. So if you're trying to work with glucose, then you want to ingest the amount of fat that's required, that's essential. You really probably don't need a lot okay? Because you're using it strictly as a structure. But when you eliminate the carbohydrates as a source of fuel, you have this fat that's like a dual purpose, okay? What the fat that you're ingesting will be for building certain aspects, hormones, structures, brain, all that stuff. And you will also be able to use that as a source of fuel. So if you're working with protein and fat primarily, with a very, very heavy restriction on the carbohydrates, you'll be relying on fat metabolism. You'll be using fat to fuel your body. You have to maintain your blood glucose. So when you don't ingest any more carbohydrates, your blood glucose doesn't go to zero. There's a process called gluconeogenesis. And gluconeogenesis is the production of sugar. So we can create sugar, enough to keep our blood sugar stable. There's 20% of your brain that can't use fat for energy. So that gluconeogenesis, we're creating that to run the 20%. There's a lot of research, in fact, that says that there is actually enhancement in cognition with ketones. So what exactly are you eating on a ketogenic diet? I'll keep it quite simple. You're eating protein and fat and barely any carbohydrates. The carbohydrates that you would consume, let's start with what you wouldn't consume as a carbohydrate. Wheat, corn, soy products, which means that you're pretty much eliminating everything in the middle section. A lot of the sauces, a lot of the crackers, the wraps, anything that's packaged really will just be the subsidized seed and grains and corn and seed oils and stuff like that. That's garbage, not real food. You stay away from that. You stay away from that. You should stay away from that even if you're not doing carbohydrate diet. Okay, so what are you centered on in a ketogenic diet? All forms of animal food. That's going to be your primary food source, and you just have to eliminate the carbs. So pasta, rice, bread, grains, legumes, all of those beans, as well as fruits. You have to restrict those. I usually eat berries. That's kind of my thing that I really like. Pickles once in a while. And but if you do want to incorporate, plant material, so just stay away from the starchy vegetables and don't forget the legumes. So you can have side dishes of vegetables and stuff like that if you wish. I have nothing against vegetables. I have nothing against fruit here and there once in a while. But in my opinion, it's not necessary. You can get all of the nutrients within the animal food that you eat. There's the carnivore diet, which eliminates all plant food. So I've really never been on a carnivore diet, but I've been on a keto carnivore. It means that I can go days just eating animal food. Often, like for convenience, I'll buy a bunch of steaks and I'll eat those consecutive days. Then, I don't have any steaks. I'll eat eggs, butter, cheese. Do that for a couple of days. Buy some ground beef, make hamburger patties, eat patties as much as I want a couple of days. Once in a while, I feel like having berries, feel having a fruit. Sure, I'll have that. Almonds, moderate amount. So I don't tell people, okay, you got to calculate how many grams of protein you need and how many grams of fat. And the only thing you have to count is what are carbohydrates. I got to know what that is. And I have to know how many carbs are in those carbohydrates. And I have to eliminate it to only 20 grams, which isn't a lot. So once you do that, you're going to go through all your glucose stores, the glycogen. You're going to lose some water weight. And then after, you're going to enter ketosis. where your body's using these fatty acids for fuel, but it's also producing a molecule called ketones. Your brain, 80% of your brain can function on that. As mentioned before, your body can produce glucose. There is a 14-day period of adjustment that varies between people. Some people can quit the carbs like that, feel great, no issues. Other people, there's like a 2-week metabolic adaptation where well, first of all, you're going to lose a lot of water. It's going to be like a diuretic effect. So your sodium can go a little bit lower, not clinically like hyponatremia low, but lowish. Those can give you symptoms of dizziness when you go from sitting to standing. You might feel a bit brain fogged. You might feel like, one moment. Sorry about that, got a little call. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah, fat adaptation. People can call it keto flu. Has nothing to do with a virus. These are symptoms because of your body adjusting to become more and more efficient at using fat and ketones for fuel. So, brain fog a bit. Maybe don't feel that much energy. You might feel a bit lightheaded during that adaptation. You might get some Charlie horses. So how do you treat those? For simplicity, and I don't take that at all anymore, but I think that instead of waiting for some people to have those symptoms and some not to, I just tell them, listen, salt your food, not excessively, but salt your food. Take magnesium sulfate, maybe for the first 4 weeks. That'll help with Charlie horses. And yeah, it's primarily magnesium and sodium. You can use some no salt too, a little bit of potassium. That's pretty much all that you need. So what happens also is, okay, you avoided the carbs. You gradually go through your glycogen. You enter into a state called ketosis. You have easy access to your fat storage. This is a diet that allows you to adopt intermittent fasting because of its appetite suppressant effect. And once you do the intermittent fasting and the ketogenic diet, creating that low insulin response, very good for weight loss. Hypertension usually improves weight loss, hypertension, and insulin resistance. You resensitize yourself if you have become resistant to insulin from eating too often and eating too many carbohydrates. I think that's pretty good for this video. I'm going to do some more videos just chatting it up and stuff like that. What else? Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I was off of it for 8 months after being pretty steady for 3 years. Maintained my weight loss, enjoyed it, no cravings, good relationship with food, felt great. Then after went off of it this year or so, like 8 months inconsistent, went back consistently for maybe 6 months ago for a month, lost 13 pounds in 1 month. Now I lost, and then I went off of it again. So then it's been a month, roughly. I lost 10 pounds again. If I would eat like a large amount of carbohydrates today, then I probably could put 5 pounds within the end of the week. I probably would go back up to 8 pounds and stuff like that. What else could I say? So I told you what you can eat, what you can't eat. Explained the adaptive period. Explained the supplements that you might want to do to ease yourself into this situation. If ever you are on insulin, you can't just start this without telling your doctor, because your insulin dosage will have to be drastically adjusted. It's dangerous. If you would be injecting yourself with the same amount of insulin without eating almost any carbohydrates, you would go to low glucose hypoglycemia, and that can be deadly. So don't do that. Just insist and tell the doctor you're adopting a low carbohydrate diet, trying to eat less carbs, and he'll take into consideration that if he's smart, and you'll have to readjust along with your doctor. What else? So some people have concerns about people being in a constant amount of ketosis, like a year, 2 years, whatever. I have no problem with it. If you have a problem with it, eat a decent amount of fruits one day a week. You'll pop yourself out of ketosis if you want. What else? Or have some decent amount of almonds and fruits, and maybe one day of starchy vegetable, if that's a concern. The carnivore diet is basically the ketogenic diet, except you're just not eating any plant material. Some call the carnivore diet really just eating beef. I don't call that a carnivore diet. I call, a carnivore diet if you're just eating and limiting yourself to animal food. Doesn't matter what it is: eggs, fish, pork, chicken, butter, whatever you want. And I can go long periods, weeks sometimes, without eating anything but animal food. But I'm not religious about it. It's not an ethical thing. I just use these as tools. So what do I mean by that? If I want to lose weight in a month and I don't want to waste time, what I'll do is more the carnivore diet. I'll just eat actually a lot of lean steak. Maybe not every day, sometimes eggs or whatever, but I'll just do really high protein, low fat, low carb. And because I am not eating glucose as a fuel source, then it's forcing my body to take my fat stores. And if you're skimping on the fat also for short-term period, then you're making sure that your body has really no choice but to take the fat off your body. You can't just sustain yourself on only protein, like super high, low fat, low carb. You can't do that. But I can do that for short periods of time just to get that weight off as soon as possible. The nurse that I was talking to, I heard her, she said she wanted to lose weight. And I said, why don't you try the ketogenic diet and stuff like that? I told her, 6 months ago, I lost 13 pounds. Eyes opened up. She says, oh, that can't be good to lose weight that fast. Why? What's wrong? Show me the literature. Tell me physiologically what happens. What is safe? 1 pound a month? 2 pounds? 6 pounds? Can you tell me the physical processes that become beneficial to non-beneficial when there's extra pounds, when there's 10 pounds? No. Your body is made to go through periods of scarcity, and you're going to lose a lot of weight if you're not eating, So there's no appropriate amount of weight to lose. You can go as fast as you can. You can fast your butt off a lot when you're fat, and you can eat the natural fat that's found in the animal food. Okay, all animal food has fat. And please avoid, in a ketogenic diet, the seed oils. Soybean oil, canola, corn oil, rapeseed oil, peanut oil, all of these oils. Get your fats naturally from the animal food that you're eating. This video is far from being complete, but it's a little bit of a rant, and hopefully it can help you out. Please go see my second video I made 4 years ago, probably now. It's more complete. I believe it's the first or second video that I did. So go check that out. All right, thanks guys.